What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Sunday, December 14th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 18:27 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from overseas and from here in the United States. So we had multiple terrorist attacks this past weekend, yesterday and today, in various parts of the world. First, we had in Providence, Rhode Island, an active shooter situation. The shooter is still at large. 2 students were killed and 9 were critically injured. And what's very strange is that Providence police, the city of Providence, Rhode Island, said that they have 0 video footage of the shooter inside of Brown University. They knew exactly where the shooting took place in the physics building at Brown University, and it's very strange that they have absolutely 0 security camera footage of the shooter inside of that building. It makes no sense whatsoever. Just something to think about, okay? Also, the German police foiled an Islamic terror attack against a German Christmas market. 5 men from Morocco, Egypt, and Syria were arrested for planning to ram a vehicle into Germans visiting a Christmas market near Dingolfing in Lower Bavaria. Wow. Now, in addition to that, we had an attack in Australia on a beach in Bondi Beach, Australia earlier this morning. Okay, so remember what I told you guys a few months ago. There was that alert that was posted by Homeland Security here in the US, and I think it was the FBI, saying that there would be an increased chance of Islamic terror attacks this year heading into the holiday season. So I think we're starting to see that, okay? So as we get closer and closer to Christmas and New Year's, I think we're going to see a lot more of these types of events. So you need to be on very high alert if you're going to be going to any kind of Christmas party, Christmas parade, Christmas celebration, anything like that, tree lighting ceremonies, especially if you're going to places like New York City, Times Square for the New Year's Eve celebration there. Okay, they have very good security there, but still, it doesn't take much for one of these terrorists to slip through the cracks. Okay, it's impossible to fully secure an area like New York City. Okay, so be on very high alert. And we also have some very concerning news coming in from other parts of the world. So the Chinese Coast Guard used water cannons on Philippine fishing boats near the Sabina Shoal in the South China Sea, resulting in injuries and damage to the Philippine vessels. We're also hearing that the massive nuclear power plant in Ukraine, the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, was again left without external power supply overnight. Last night, for the 12th time since the war started, the plant likely lost all external electricity supply, according to the IAEA. And now what's interesting is that they finally just fixed those 2 external power supplies a few months ago. Remember, they were running on standby diesel generators, and they had 2 external lines that they reconnected. Well, it looks like they lost connection again. Okay, so that's a ticking time bomb that would have global consequences. Okay, that nuclear power plant has 6 nuclear reactors. Okay, that would be like, 6 Chernobyls melting down. Okay, I believe one of those reactors is in a state of cold shutdown, so it's not completely shut down. It's basically in like hibernation mode, but then the other 5 are still running. Okay, so very, very serious, guys. And Ukraine struck another oil refinery in Russia, this time the Slavnet Yanos oil refinery in the Yaroslav region. Apparently, a fire was recorded following explosions. The facility is one of Russia's largest oil refineries, processing up to 15 million tons of crude oil and gas annually. It is involved in supplying the needs of the Russian armed forces, so big news there. And the U.S. seized a Chinese cargo ship last month off the coast of Sri Lanka. Very interesting, and I wonder if they seized it before or after Trump's meeting with Xi Jinping. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video. And we have some very serious news coming in from Britain. The British Defense Minister said that Britain must be prepared for a war that will cause huge human casualties. The United Kingdom is developing plans to prepare the entire country in case of a possible outbreak of war. We're hearing that they're rapidly developing plans to prepare the entire country, according to the UK Minister of Armed Forces, L. Carnes. He noted that the Army, Navy, and Air Force respond to crises, but society, industry, and the economy win wars. He said that the shadow of war is still knocking on Europe's door. This is reality. We must be ready to stop it. Carnes warns the country's military leadership and defense heads of allied states to be prepared for a war that will cause huge human casualties. He said NATO allies must be ready for counteractions. Wow. Okay, this is just as clear as it can be a warning of World War III. Okay, a war with Russia in Europe. And he echoed what the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said just a day prior. Mark Rutte said, "We must be ready for the scale of war our grandparents and great-grandparents endured." He also said that Putin is in the empire-building business again. He is throwing everything he has at Ukraine. And then he also said, "We are Russia's next target." Wow. And Estonia has started building bunkers along their border with Russia. Construction is underway in the southeastern part of the country, according to Defense News. 7 concrete shelters are currently ready for installation, with 28 more to be deployed by the end of the year. This marks the first phase of a project involving 600 bunkers designed to protect the EU and NATO's eastern flank. Each bunker covers about 35 square meters and is designed to withstand a direct hit from 152 millimeter artillery shells. So these are very strong bunkers to be able to withstand a direct hit from 150 millimeter artillery. That's basically a howitzer. This thing can take a direct hit from a howitzer, guys. Okay, so that is these are very strong bunkers, and they're going to be building 600 of them. They already have over 30 that they're going to be installing before the end of the year. Estonia has also stockpiled barbed wire and anti-tank obstacles, which are being kept in warehouses in case of a threat. And despite what Trump said about Thailand and Cambodia, apparently Thailand and Cambodia are still fighting. The war is still going on between them. Yesterday, the Thai Air Force struck multiple targets in Cambodia with F-16s. So no peace in Southeast Asia, Thailand, and Cambodia are still fighting, and I'm hearing reports that Chinese PLA, that's the People's Liberation Army, equipment is being moved into Cambodia, and the Cambodians are using Chinese army equipment against Thailand, specifically long-range artillery. And we're hearing reports that Iran currently possesses around 2,000 heavy ballistic missiles, roughly the same number before the U.S. bombed Iran and before the war with Israel. So 2,000 ballistic missiles, guys, long-range, heavy ballistic missiles that can carry large payloads. And the Ukrainian President Zelensky has offered to drop Ukraine's aspirations of joining NATO as part of a peace agreement to end the ongoing war with Russia during talks today in Berlin with U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, according to sources who spoke to Reuters. So interesting, but no discussions on territorial surrendering of territories, just that he would drop aspirations of joining NATO. And we currently have U.S. nuclear forces on high alert this evening. Right now, as I'm filming this video, the emergency action messages are going crazy. They're transmitting back to back. I'm sitting here in front of my radio, so I will be monitoring the situation this evening, and if necessary, I will go live. And what you're looking at here is a screenshot of multiple U.S. Air Force assets off the coast of Venezuela on Thursday and Friday. Here you can see two F-18 Super Hornets. Actually, I'm sorry, three F-18 Super Hornets right off the coast of Venezuela. Then there were also two electronic warfare planes, the E-18 Growlers. These are planes specifically designed to suppress GPS signals, radio communications, and radars. And then also there was an E-2 Hawkeye, which is a small AWACS plane that is deployed from the deck of aircraft carriers. So we know that somewhere in this area where Tracer 05, this plane here, the E-2 Hawkeye, somewhere in this area, the aircraft carriers in this area, the Gerald Ford, okay? And a U.S. Special Operations team boarded a ship in the Indian Ocean last month and seized military-related items being shipped from China to Iran, intended to prevent Tehran from rebuilding its military arsenal, U.S. officials told the Wall Street Journal. The ship was several hundred miles off the coast of Sri Lanka when U.S. operatives boarded it, confiscated the cargo, and then allowed the vessel to continue. Okay, so a Chinese ship going to Iran, okay, was intercepted and military items were seized. Like I said, I wonder if this was before or after Trump's meeting with Xi Jinping. And according to Venezuela's interior minister, they received a decision from the U.S. government to unilaterally suspend the return of Venezuelan deportees to Venezuela late Thursday. So that's a sign that the U.S. is getting ready to attack Venezuela, because they had these agreements to deport people to Venezuela, and Venezuela was accepting those deportees, but now the U.S. has canceled that. So basically there's zero ties between the U.S. and Venezuela. And Venezuela's defense minister said to the U.S., "Make no mistake, we know how to defend Venezuelan airspace." And we know that several more F-35s were moved to the Caribbean, specifically Puerto Rico, from the U.S. Vermont Air National Guard. They moved several F-35s late this past week down to Puerto Rico. And we're hearing also that the U.S. is preparing to seize more tankers off of Venezuela's coastline, having now assembled a list of several more sanctioned tankers. Okay, so there will be more seizures of these tankers. And the Trump administration has issued new sanctions targeting 3 nephews of Venezuelan President Maduro, a businessman tied to the regime, and 6 companies moving Venezuelan oil. And Putin spoke by phone with Maduro after the oil tanker was seized. Putin expressed solidarity with the Venezuelan people and supported the course of Maduro's government in defending national interests and sovereignty amid increasing external pressure. So Putin putting his support behind Maduro. Okay, big slap in the face to Trump. And we're hearing reports that Maduro may potentially flee to Belarus. Maduro is considering Belarus as a possible refuge if Trump guarantees the safety of his family and financial assets amounting to $200 million, according to Reuters. And Trump said, we knocked out 96% of the drugs coming in by water. Now we are starting by land. Land is a lot easier. That is going to start happening soon. So Trump reiterated multiple times this past week that land strikes will be starting soon. And Maduro confirmed that the oil tanker detained by the U.S. off the coast of Venezuela was carrying 1.9 million barrels of crude oil. Wow. And that's just proof right there that Trump is after the oil. He wants that black gold. He took the tanker, took the oil, and he was after that oil. He wants the Venezuelan oil. And the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov has called for a full investigation into the U.S. seizure of the oil tanker in Venezuela. And Iranian authorities say they have seized a foreign tanker carrying 6 million liters of diesel fuel in the Sea of Oman. So Iran seized some kind of tanker. And Trump signed an executive order creating a national federal standard for artificial intelligence regulation, limiting states' abilities to impose their own rules. So I don't know exactly what that means. You'd have to dig more into it. From what I understand, Trump wants to preempt state laws so that way states cannot limit artificial intelligence research and implementation. So this is seen as a pro-AI move by the Trump administration. The Trump administration, just like with the COVID vaccinations, wanted to be the first to make the first COVID vaccine. He wanted the U.S. to be the first. Well, he's doing the same thing with AI now. He wants the U.S. to be the AI leader, which is pretty concerning considering that once AI is plugged into everything, I mean, we already have Big Brother. We've had Big Brother since the early 2000s, since the Patriot Act, installed cameras everywhere across the U.S. to protect against terrorism. Okay, and imagine all these millions of cameras across the country with facial recognition, real ID, all being linked into this AI algorithm that's going to be able to constantly monitor, just incredible amounts of data that human beings would never be able to do on their own, even if you had like hundreds of thousands of people sitting there watching cameras, scrolling through people's text messages and emails and trying to link patterns together. Well, this AI algorithm is going to do all of that. Okay, it's like real life Skynet from Terminator. And that's the next step. After they plug in AI into Big Brother, we already have Big Brother, guys. Your text messages are being monitored 24/7. Your internet search history, there's no such thing as privacy, okay? Everything is synced to the data centers in Utah, okay? The NSA is monitoring everything you do, and now they're going to implement this AI algorithm that's going to be able to piece together different patterns, okay? And they're going to do it in the name of national security to be able to seek out, domestic terrorists or foreign terrorists, but, then there's a slippery slope of who's considered a domestic terrorist? What's the criteria? Who defines that? Okay. And then they're going to step it up to the military. And that's what happens with the Terminator movies when they implement Skynet, the AI algorithm, the AI system. It monitors the entire U.S. military nuclear forces, and it turns against human beings and launches nukes at Russia to purposely start a nuclear war to eradicate human beings, okay? We're already testing fighter jets with AI. We're already testing stealth bombers, part of our nuclear forces with AI. They're actually going to have them. The B-21 Raiders will be self-piloted by AI. Okay, isn't that a little bit scary to think about? Okay, B-2, imagine a B-2 stealth bomber flying on its own, bombing targets on its own with nuclear bombs. I mean, what if there's a glitch? What if the AI becomes self-aware like in Terminator and starts bombing our own cities? You know, the stealth bombers start taking off from their bases that, you know, we didn't authorize them to, and they start bombing New York City. What if they get hacked? Okay. And the Turkish vessel was hit by Russian missiles in the port of Odessa in Ukraine. The ship belonged to the Turkish ferry company Senk Shipping, which transports trucks and trailers. Okay, so a Turkish cargo ship was blown up by Russia. Okay, so Turkey's definitely not happy about that. Here you can see a picture of the ship. And Putin and the president of Turkey met in Turkmenistan shortly after this happened. So I don't know if they worked anything out. And the Trump administration plans to issue a $1 coin next year featuring President Trump on the coin as part of the celebration of America's 250th anniversary. And Trump approved strikes by Ukraine on Russia's shadow fleet and also provided intelligence that helped Ukraine target oil refineries. Okay, so the Trump administration did assist Ukraine in attacking these shadow fleet ships and the oil refineries. I reported on that a few weeks ago. And Trump is pressing European leaders to force Zelensky to accept a U.S. peace plan that would require Ukraine to surrender significant territory and cap its military. In a tense call with German, French, and British leaders, Trump repeated his criticism that Zelensky hadn't properly engaged with the earlier U.S. proposal and signaled he wasn't willing to revise it. So Trump basically wants Ukraine to just surrender, give the territory to Russia, capitulate, never join NATO, cap its military, and just be done with it. Trump just wants to be done with the war. He doesn't care about what's right and what's wrong. He just wants to end the war, regardless of the outcome, okay? And Zelensky said that Ukraine and the U.S. will be signing agreements on the reconstruction of the Ukrainian economy after the war. And Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, said European peacekeepers in Ukraine would immediately become a legitimate military target for Russia. Okay, so European peacekeeping forces they keep talking about as part of the security guarantees. Lavrov shot that down and said that they would become a legitimate military target. And Putin ordered his troops to continue combat operations in Ukraine to achieve the objectives of the special military operation. So no slowing down for Russia. And Ukraine's new Sapsan ballistic missile has entered service and can reach Moscow. The Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is looking to assume the presidency and rewrite laws to make the presidency the most powerful office in Hungary. Okay, so Orban basically wants to become the dictator of Hungary by rewriting laws. He wants to turn into Lukashenko and Putin. And the UK Telegraph is reporting that the U.S. Army Chief Dan Driscoll has been sidelined from Ukraine peace talks by the U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who insiders say viewed him as exerting himself a bit too much. If you remember, Driscoll was the guy who told the Ukrainians that they basically have no chance of winning and that they need to surrender as soon as possible or else Russia's going to steamroll them. And the House Oversight Committee has released a batch of 95,000 photos received from the Epstein estate. Some of the pictures showed Trump, Bannon, Woody Allen, Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, and Bill Gates with Epstein. Okay, so very, very concerning. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight with some live monitoring and a live update. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.